Behavioral Health Today, a podcast by Tried Behavioral Health, covering trending topics in behavioral and mental health. This podcast is designed to share unique and relevant topics occurring within the world and our communities and bring them a mental health perspective.
Welcome to Behavioral Health Today. I'm your host, Dr. Graham Taylor. I'm joined today by Dr. Michele Haley, the founder and director of TogetherWell. TogetherWell is a community of mental health professionals that offer emotional wellness workshops to individuals, organizations, and to families. Michele has nearly 2 decades of experience in a variety of different roles, including therapist, adjunct professor, researcher, community programmer, and case manager. Today, Michele joins us to talk about the resources for therapists through TogetherWell, along with the services to the community her company provides. Michele, welcome to our podcast. It's so great to have you here.
So great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I know that you've got a very deep understanding of the mental health field itself from your years of experience and the different roles that you've been in over those years. I also know that TogetherWell came out of an incident in your own family that demonstrated for you the role that education plays in addressing mental health issues. As we start today, would you be willing to share with us how your life event led you to create TogetherWell?
Yeah. So I would say how I created TogetherWell was really a series of a culmination of events. One of the first onset that I could think back to is my first or second year of graduate school out here in the Bay Area of California. My grandfather had gotten really sick and I had flown home to Maine, where I'm originally from.
Okay.
And he was in the hospital and I was sitting with him and we were talking, and a doctor came into the hospital room and the doctor was saying all these fancy words, a lot of jargon. And I'm a first generation college student myself. So I'm in grad school and I'm just kind of picking up some of the lingo. And so I knew my grandfather really had no understanding of what these words were. And so that's kind of when I had my first aha moment that what's the point in going to college or university and learning all this information about mental health if we can't share it with the community?
I like that.
That's when the concept of delivering workshops came to mind. And so whenever I give a workshop, I think to myself, well, if my grandfather was sitting in the audience, how would I deliver the information to him?
Very good. Very good. So your workshops are focused on not just equipping therapists in these areas of, interest or need, but also helping to make sure that these things are communicated in ways that people can really not just understand them, but to implement them in helpful ways and making decisions, I'm sure, as well.
Yes. So, and TogetherWell was initially developed to support connecting therapists with the community for emotional wellness workshops. But then we realized that in order to effectively do that we really needed to support therapists and being able to do that work, and especially now with COVID.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that a little bit. Therapists are typically trained to do therapy, in a clinical setting or a hospital setting and that kind of thing. What are some of the reasons you find that lead a therapist to expand their work and decide to want to offer these workshops, maybe even an area of particular interest to them?
There's lots of reasons why somebody might want to do a workshop, like for one, like building their brand awareness, creating more of a specialty area and being able to showcase that, getting exposure. When I do workshops, I'm always surprised how many referrals can come out of a workshop. So you're really able to create referrals. You can get paid to do workshops. A lot of times people even elect to do pro bono workshops just because they can get those referrals and also because they want to help the community. But I think that it's a really nice addition in terms of like trying to diversify your clinical portfolio, as I like to call it, because it really breaks up some of the monotony of just doing clinical work every day, day in, day out. And it gives like a new way to sort of market the great work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then also just being able to broaden your reach to the community. There's a lot of reasons that people don't seek out traditional therapy. And so like stigma and cost. And so workshops can be a really great way to get to the larger community.
Sometimes we benefit from offering just introductions to mental health in a way like a workshop. I know it's going to be really helpful kind of for the general public and others to receive kind of an introduction to mental health in a non-threatening way. And workshops, I know, are often just a really easy way to enter into and develop a curiosity around and to receive some information about some areas. And then from there, some interest might develop that they might want to follow up on with regard to their own mental health.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think about, in this interesting space that we're in with virtual workshops, it
Yes.
really allows people who may be in rural areas that don't have a saturation of therapists in their area. So they could just hop onto a virtual workshop if they wanted, or they could watch them on demand later if they don't have the time. So it really helps serve a lot of people who may not have otherwise had the opportunity to seek out clinical services.
Right, right. Really like that. As we're talking from just kind of a therapist standpoint, just for a couple minutes more here, what resources are being offered by TogetherWell that you feel are really making an impact for the therapists?
I would put it in four different categories. And I really model that sort of like off this biopsychosocial spiritual framework that a lot of therapists use.
Yeah.
I really use that as a parallel frame for TogetherWell as a nonprofit organization. And so we offer educational events. And so those include a series that we called Third Thursday for Therapists.
Yeah.
And like those focus on different educational topics that are really current. And then we also have an emphasis on creating community. And so at all of our events, we offer networking opportunities, and we have a Facebook group so people can get mentorship and ask
Really good.
questions and accountability workshops. Because, like building a workshop it takes a minute. And so to have like a crew to like build your
Right.
workshop together could be
Right.
really supportive. Even just sitting there on a Zoom, like
Yeah.
you're there, they're there, you're building your workshop. And then like wellness perks, I think it's really important, from sitting, especially at the computer, Zooming all day.
Yeah.
We offer a month of free yoga and Pilates, virtual free for therapists. And they don't
So
even have
good.
to be a TogetherWell member. Like this is,
Uh-huh.
if you're an essential worker therapist, like you can get yoga and Pilates, just come to one of our free events. We offer free meditation at all our events, and we just don't want to sell short self-care.
Mhm.
We often preach it, but we don't always walk the walk. And then just professional benefits. Like, for example, ATABS offers a great discount to TogetherWell members, and we have some other great partners who offer discounts. And so I think about it in sort of like these four different spaces of like community, education, wellness, professional benefits. So I think that that's really crucial. But then resources outside of TogetherWell too, that I think are really important are connecting with associations, connecting with alumni, contacts, general networking. And a big part is mentorship.
Mm.
So a lot of associations have mentorship spaces that you can access. And I think that's really incredible. As a first generation college student, like
Yes.
mentoring is the reason I was
Yeah.
able to even graduate, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And then I just really want to underscore like advocacy for change where possible so that we can create more support. So, in a nutshell, long story long, those are
Yeah.
all sort of the different ways that, support within TogetherWell, then support outside of TogetherWell that I would really emphasize.
That is incredibly well thought through and so comprehensive from so many dimensions. What a list of services and opportunities you guys provide, kind of from soup to nuts and everything mental health wise and self-care wise. And that is fantastic. Well done. Very, very
Thank,
well done.
thank you.
You mentioned a part of your program called Third Thursdays for Therapists. I'd love to hear about that. And I know that's something of interest, particularly around those things related to COVID right now and some support you're providing to therapists. What is Third Thursdays about?
Yeah. So we decide on our topics for Third Thursdays by asking therapists what they want to hear about and learn about. So we do that through social media channels, like what's impacting you, how can we support you, rather than just sort of doing something and imposing it on therapists. At our events, we always do a poll where we get a sense of who's coming to our events, and then we ask questions about what do you want to learn about, or what do you want to hear about speakers to come from what areas. And so the topics that we have been doing are around managing microaggressions, identifying bias, offering culturally informed services, becoming an ally, xenophobia, transitioning from in-person therapy
Mm.
to telehealth, which is, of
Right.
course, a huge one. And then how do you, once you make that technology shift, how does that inform your clinical work? And so when we do events on like opioid addiction or suicide prevention, like we're really looking at that from like a virtual telehealth lens.
Got it. That's really good. So in these third Thursdays that you are putting together, what was the why behind creating these Thursday meetings for them?
So, it's actually a really interesting story. So, we were planning a gorgeous fundraising event for our nonprofit organization. It was going to be in San Francisco at this beautiful venue. A speaker from the American Psychological Association was a keynote speaker this year, amazing Stanford psychologist. And the day shelter in place happened was the day of our
Oh,
event.
oh my.
So we had a minute where we were like, okay, let's be sad about this. Let's do our grief process. But of course, we wanted to respect everything that was going on and really understood. And so we are like, how do we help support therapists right now? Because there was such a panic going on about how am I going to pivot from in-person therapy to telehealth? How can we serve our community? And so we decided to offer our first third Thursday event. It was called Take Flight Together, virtual mental health event. And we had 400 RSVPs, 13 speakers from attorneys to talk about the legal
Wow.
implications, which was really on everyone's mind. How do I do this
Mhm.
legally?
Yeah.
And the senator came and did a welcome note at the event to really help underscore to therapists how important their work is and how, not only are our therapists dealing with like increased caseloads, more intensity, but they also have to juggle their own families and their own lives. And so that just really underscored for us the importance of serving and creating the series Third Thursday for therapists so that we can help support therapists during
Really
COVID.
good. Really good. That's a tremendous why. I know as you're talking about focusing on those opportunities for the therapist to be supported in and grow from, I know that with all the various mental health issues, being stirred by COVID and during this time from, increased suicide to depression, anxiety, increase in domestic violence and substance abuse and
Mm.
increase in child abuse, just to name a few topic areas. What are some topic areas that Together Well therapists are being booked for their workshop, are you finding during this time?
Wellness, just general wellness,
Okay.
is such a great sort of dipping your toe into a workshop, and it's
Yeah.
so non-threatening and it can really cast a net. And we've really encouraged to all of our facilitators to cross reference other types of workshops
Yeah.
for people so that they know like what's out there. But wellness for like organizations specifically are a great way. But we also have facilitators share different resources, national resources. So it doesn't matter if you're having a workshop in Oklahoma, like
Right.
if somebody is
Right.
participating in another state, they can access those national resources too. Also, on our website, on the organizer, for somebody who wants to organize a workshop, we have a whole bevy of workshop topics that are kind of listed out for everyone
Yeah.
with like a blurb on what kind of workshop they could curate. And so wellness would be the workshop that most people are really gravitating to right now.
Yeah, really good. I saw your list. It is extensive and thorough and has some really tremendous, very applicable topics that you guys are offering. So just kind of going behind the curtain for a second, when a therapist signs on to participate with you and say they're interested in a particular topic or area of interest that they have a specialty in, and what would the process be that they would go through coming into your program? And what will Together Well provide them with, and how will they join them?
Yeah, how a therapist may join TogetherWell to offer workshops. So basically, they come to the site, to the
Yeah.
join page. And as of today, it's completely free for therapists to join TogetherWell. We, as an organization, really wanted to make it to be able to get as many people to onboard onto the platform as possible and do as much
Uh-huh.
work as possible. TogetherWell also doesn't take any revenue from the workshops or anything like that. We really want to do good work in our communities. And so the facilitator joins the platform and they create a profile, and then they go through a verification process, which includes a background check and either an education or a license verification. Like many teachers in universities, they are not licensed, but they do have a background in mental health.
Okay.
And to make a note on that, a lot of organizations are really popping up right now, like different directory sites, and a lot of them are not requiring people to verify their background, which can be a problem when you're talking about mental health in the community and giving information. So that's the only cost associated with TogetherWell is that and joining. But that's basically it to join. Then you just build your workshops, and we have a support team to help support you in building your workshop. We have a facilitator toolkit and a really supportive community.
Fantastic. You've thought through some really key things, and what a cool process to come into. I'm thinking also too, it sounds like you offer some great opportunity and support that can be really valuable for those that could be recent grads or early career practitioners. How are you looking to incorporate them in this as well? Because I know that you said earlier that could be a good source of some referrals for them, getting known, et cetera, adding to their vita and what they're doing. Tell me about those people coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a new student embarking, or early career therapist embarking on their career, it could be really anxiety producing. Something that I hear a lot of students say is that they experience imposter phenomenon.
Right.
Yeah. And like, feeling like, well, my life isn't 100% perfect yet. So how can I be doing therapy? And it's like, nobody's life is ever 100%, right? I mentioned earlier about mentoring. Like, mentoring is so important. And so we really endeavor to create an organizational culture of mentorship to help support early career therapists and gaining the confidence to deliver the workshops and helping them to be able to market and build their referral sources so that they can really get out there. But I remember one time a friend, after she had graduated, she said, oh, I got my office, I'm ready to go, but the phone's not ringing. And she just thought the patients would show up to her office.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, that was not the case, unfortunately. But the student loans come.
That's
come,
right.
That's
right. Those come in the mail. That's for sure. But this is a way, you're saying, to help facilitate people getting out there, getting known, interest being shown, someone maybe developing, kind of a trust or the beginnings of trust in someone they're watching, and maybe even begin to kind of follow up with a referral. And with things being online so much right now with telemental health, I would imagine accessing some of these new career practitioners is going to be easier for those attending the workshops without the barrier of travel, et cetera. I'm just thinking a little sidebar here too. You guys must have a fun time sitting around kind of like the boardroom table, if you will, or wherever you sit, and talking about all the things you can be creative with. That must be such a fun time with those you're working with and creating with and just imagining what can be. That's got to be a fun time for you.
It really is. We have about 25 volunteers.
That's
no
awesome.
one gets paid. We're all 100% volunteer. And it's just everybody sharing their gifts to want to help the community. And so, it really is like that. It's sitting around the Zoom now. Right. So we're just sort of like ping-ponging ideas and brainstorming and seeing how things fit. So it is really fun.
I think when people come together like that, that's mental health at its very best. In that, you're talking about a couple of events, and I'd love to hear what you're doing, particularly as you kind of dream those up and look to implement those.
Yeah, well, so 2 events that we're doing for early career therapists and graduate students. We just did one on implicit bias and supervisory experiences, and really helping to just share the experiences of students who may have felt like undermined perhaps in a supervisory experience as a result of maybe a bias or a microaggression, and how do you hold that? And so just bringing voice to that. And the second event is going to be in December, and it's going to be a really large all-day event. ATABS is actually participating in one segment. And so basically the way the event is designed is it's a stressful topic and then something fun and then a stressful topic and something
Nice.
fun. So it's kind of
Nice.
like a stress inoculation training,
Exactly.
except
Right.
as an event. And
Right.
so it'll be like student loans, and then it's let's do some karaoke. And you can opt in and out. You don't have to participate or anything. And then let's talk about licensing. And then here's some improv. And
Wow. So you're
so
kind of dunking them in the hard stuff and pulling them back out and then dunking them again. And
right, exactly. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so yeah, it's a free event for anyone, and anyone's welcome. So
that's fantastic.
yeah, we try to offer those events to help support early career therapists.
That's really good. We've done some podcasts on self-care as therapists, and what you're providing kind of a gateway into some opportunities for therapists to connect with other therapists and to keep themselves healthy and really kind of focus on the things that keep us healthy and kind of keep our tank filled as we go back out and kind of address the needs of those that we love to work with. You were mentioning that you teach some of the workshops. I'd love to hear what you're doing, what your areas of interest are, and kind of give me a sense of one of your workshops, if you would.
Yeah, I love couples workshops. Those are a lot of fun. And also anger management workshops. I did a series of anger management workshops, and it was actually around Thanksgiving one year. And I remember getting to the week and we were going to take a break for Thanksgiving.
Right.
And one of the participants in the group said, at first I thought, how am I going to get through Thanksgiving without getting angry? Because at the table, everyone's talking about politics and
Right.
all the things. And they said that they felt more equipped to handle
great.
Thanksgiving that particular year. Yeah.
That's
And
great.
so it's stuff like that that means a lot, and really just like is the trophy. It makes you feel like we're making an impact in the communities.
Isn't that a cool thing when you've got some takeaways for folks that they can implement just right then and there?
Yeah.
They can see those things being kind of incorporated into and beneficial into the things that they're doing in their lives that interpersonally kind of equip them individually, maybe give them some emotional muscle, to come into those times a little bit differently, and really like that. Just for fun, I know that there are a large number of topics that you guys offer. Off the top of your head, rattle some topics off for our listeners just to know. If you go to our site, here's some of the things you're going to see. Give us some topic areas. Just go.
Yeah. Wellness, stress reduction, mindfulness.
Yeah.
You can even do workshops on communication, healthy communication, working with challenging colleagues. A popular
Really
workshop with schools for like a principal could come to the platform and say,
Nice.
I'd like to have a workshop on how trauma impacts the developing mind. And so they can go to the platform and they can find a workshop or a facilitator who does a workshop in that particular space. And then they're off to the races
Really
to offer
good.
that workshop. And also, if somebody comes to the platform and they cannot find a workshop that suits their interest, they could either email us directly and we'll help support them in finding a workshop, or they could reach out to a facilitator and say, could you tailor a workshop in this space? And a lot of times facilitators, that's something that they're willing to do, because it's hard to list every workshop that you could possibly do.
Sure.
So yeah.
I like the idea that you're telling us that, for example, we might get a call from a school principal, or maybe we might get a call from maybe a practicum site, for example.
Right.
Give us an idea of the kinds of folks. This may be for our non-therapist listeners, but those that are listening in, and they might say, hey, wait a minute, in my company or in our business, who are some folks that you would love to help give you a call, much like the high school principal you're talking about? Who'd you love to call you guys?
Yeah, human resource, directors of people teams. Like, this is an excellent opportunity to create wellness among your staff, especially now where people are really struggling with that work-life balance.
Nice.
I think prior to COVID, 71% of employees had indicated feeling really overwhelmed or stressed. So there was already such a need prior to COVID.
Yeah.
And so, and even leaders of organizations too. I think that's a really great way to show that you support your team.
Really good. Really good. What a tremendous service. And I love the heart behind it and what you guys are bringing to again, I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. This is the best of mental health. This is where folks are coming in and providing some tremendous services for those in need, those that want to grow, areas of interest, and maybe some areas that they never thought they had some interest in, but to come in and maybe get some information where they get to have a different take or dimension on things. That's really wonderful. We're starting to kind of wind down for our time today, but for our listeners, can you direct us to some resources or to your site? So if people want to follow up, we can follow up with you.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So if they want to get connected with us directly, it's togetherwell.org. Yeah. Where they can learn more about our site. They can check out our join page. As I mentioned today, we're making our memberships free for all therapists. And we also are on social media, so come join us there. We're on Instagram at TogetherWell.org, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all the pages, basically.
Good for you. Good.
And we also have private Facebook groups too. So the links will be, I believe, posted in the comments. So check out how to join those groups. And then just in terms of gaining support, like outside TogetherWell, just again, like exclamation on joining associations and networking and mentorship opportunities. A major trend that's happening as a result of COVID is therapists needing to find support. And so a lot of therapists are really gravitating towards social media and Facebook groups. And so I just want to leave one caveat about the Facebook groups is just making sure, of course, we're not talking about like any confidential information of clients when we're posting, and also making sure you're careful about which groups you're joining. There are some groups that have not been created by therapists and are more like an entrepreneurship. And so they haven't been vetted. So that's just one caveat when you're reaching out for support, just making sure what groups that you are engaging with.
Yeah, that's some good counsel, just to be kind of aware and kind of discerning as you go into those times. That's really helpful. Yeah. Really good. Well, Michele, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been great to have you as part of our podcast. What a tremendous service you're offering to our community, to our therapists, and kind of helping to connect them. And congratulations on what you're doing. Been great to be with you today.
You too. Thank you so much.
Been awesome. Thank you. And to our listeners, we want to thank you also for listening in, and we will look forward to having you join us next time on Behavioral Health Today.
We appreciate all the support from our community, and if you like our show, one of the best ways you can support it is by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving a review. Behavioral Health Today is a podcast part of the Tried Behavioral Health Network, all rights reserved.